vidadhati purvam yo vai vedanscha prahinoti tasmai tam hadevamatma buddhi prakasham mumukshurvai sharanamaham prapadye. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartribhyo Vamshrishibhyo Mahabhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Sarvopaplavarahitāh prajñānaghanah pratyagartho brahmaivahamasmi brahmaivahamasmi. Vedantartha vibhasakaya gurave Shantaya sannyasine Nanavadi nagendra sangha pavaye Yogindra vandyaya cha Mohatvanta divakaraya Bhagavat pada vidham vibrate Tasmai bhashyakృతే namostu satatam Purnaya bodhatmane. Mahadeva, Mahadeva, Mahadeva. Of the people who are present over here, I would like to invite the questions, if there be any, and will try to answer to the best of my knowledge, if I can. So you can switch the mic on, or you could have the question sent in the, type the question and send it over.
Pranam Swamiji.
Yeah.
Swamiji, may I ask a question from our text going on? One line was there in page 61. Nirguna Brahma Bhava Apatti Rupa Moksha Upapadyate.
The question is not clear. What is it that you're reading?
Swamiji, one line was there in page 61 that Nirguna Brahma Bhava Apatti Rupa Moksha Upapadyate. So I could not understand the word apatti used there. I'll just read the full sentence. Tasmat sadharana asadharana prapancha abhyupagamephi nirguna brahma bhava apatti rupa moksha upapadyate.
Don't break the sandhi.
Nirguna brahma bhava apatti rupa moksha upapadyate.
Okay. Here the word apatti means prapti.
Okay, Swamiji. Yes.
In this particular word apatti, prapti. So in Vedanta, the moksha, there is a common definition of moksha for all the darshankaras. And everybody admits that Mahadev, is there an...
Yes, Swamiji.
There is an...
Yes.
Aradhana, can that be stopped somewhere? Because there is,
Ji,
yeah.
I muted Sarita ji. I think it was coming. Yeah.
Okay. So all the Darshankaras, all the schools of thought unanimously agree on one definition of moksha, and that is dukkhasya atyantika nivritti. This is one part of the moksha that is admitted by all. Paramanandasya prapti is also not what is accepted by all. The Buddhas say that moksha means dukkhasya nivritti, atyantika nivritti. And therefore, because this is a common definition, a common ground, which is unanimously agreed by all, yet each darshankara, according to their particular school of philosophy, then go to define how this is possible. The Vaisheshikas, Nayayikas, the Yogis, Sankhya, and finally, when it comes to Vedanta, we say, the Upanishads say, it is the moksha has got both these aspects. Dukkhasya atyantika nivrittihi and paramanandasya praptihi. But how is it possible? To which the reply is that because one does not know the very nature of the self is Brahman, and therefore there is bondage, the bondage of misery, the bondage of dukkham. Therefore, avidya nivritti is there. Avidya nivritti is the way to moksha. So, what exactly then can be called as moksha? We will say it is avidya nivritti rupaha. Then just absence of avidya would mean moksha for you. So over here then one more thing which is added is avidya avidya nivritti upalakshita brahma prapti. How is that brahma prapti? How will you attain Brahman? Attainment of Brahman is indicated only by the destruction of ignorance. Avidya nivritti upalakshitam. And it is how? Upalakshitam. Now we understand that what is an upalakshanam? Like the kakavantam devadattasya griham. Like a person who is being shown from distance in a cluster of houses, which one is Devadatta's house? Then someone says Devadatta's house is that house on which the crow is perching. Now, the person who was looking at those cluster of houses in that small little village, in a small little hamlet of 10-15 houses, he was able to spot Devadatta's house because he could see the bird, the crow, perching on one of its windows or the roof. Kakavantam Devadattasya griham. Now, this indication has helped him identify Devadatta's house. But is this indication a permanent indication which is intrinsic to that house? No. Or does it mean that whichever house on which the crow perches sits is called as Devadatta's house? No. Presently, it is only just this. Okay. So therefore, how is it? It is this kind of a lakshana, this kind of an indication is called as upalakshana. It is called as an upalakshana. Kakavantam devadattasya griham. Like that, avidya nivritti upalakshitam brahma prapti. So the Atma is Brahman. You already are Brahman. There is nothing like that you need to go and attain Brahman, or you will become Brahman, or you will transform into Brahman. You will merge in Brahman. All these possibilities are not there. Then what is there? Simply that you, even in the state of ignorance, already are liberated. But because you do not know, one feels, one finds that he is under bondage. Therefore, now avidya nivritti upalakshitam. Okay, so there is Brahma Prapti. So how is this Brahma Prapti? That this Brahma Prapti, attainment of Brahman, is simply indicated by avidya nivritti, is indicated by removal of avidya, going away, destruction of avidya. That is all. So in that particular sentence that you are saying, Brahma Bhavapatti, it simply means attainment of Brahma Bhava. Okay? So that is the meaning over there.
Yes, Swamiji. Thank you so much.
Swamiji, I have a question regarding meditation. Where I go to the market, I see n number of japmalas being sold. Is there a way to choose which japamala I should be using? Before starting to use the japamala, any rituals I need to perform? There is so much information available on the internet. And can this japamala be worn during the day, or is it not to be worn? What are the rules and regulations for using the japamala?
Okay. The first thing about the mala is rosary. So the arrangement of beads strung together and in a stipulated number. Now the number is also important. The kind of beads according to the Shastra is also important to retain the sanctity of the mala. If the mala is being used only for the sake of japa, there are few simple regulations, because if you go to the internet, etc., or any of these books, you will find heaps of information over there. But what is applicable to you is what will be given to you by the teacher, the guru, because then it is through the tradition. Okay. So first of all, when there is a japamala, it should be kept separately only for the sake of japa. It should be kept wrapped in a cloth, and it should not become visible to other people. Just as, when it comes to the asana, the seat, the cotton seat, etc., which is used by a person to do his meditation or japa or parayana, is his personal thing. It is as personal as someone's toothbrush. No, you don't say that, you please share my toothbrush. No. It is as personal as that. So this japamala also should be kept separately. The mala which is used either to wear on the wrist or in the neck is alankar. It is called as alankar. Alankar means an ornamental, something that has an ornamental value. Japamala is not to be used as alankara. Japamala is to be kept separately. There is something called as the smarani. Smarani is a small japamala with just 27 beads, okay, and one meru, the bead on the top. So that smarani is something that a person can keep handy everywhere, and it need not stay covered. But when there is japamala, it should be always kept covered. Well, now about the beads. When the japa is of a particular deity, then the teacher gives you, or the tradition tells you, the usage of the wood or the beads that are there. In general, rudraksha can be used everywhere. When it comes to doing a particular japa, depending upon the prayoga. Now there are few other prescribed types of wood which are used. It can be sandalwood, it can be the wood of the tulsi, it can be the wood of the red sandal, that is rakta chandan. There is then the beads are the seeds of lotus flower. Okay. So there are various types of japamalas, or it can be sphatika, the crystal, or it can be of, if the person is doing the japa of a particular graha, etc., then depending upon that, the precious stones, semi-precious stones, precious stones are being prescribed over there, out of which the beads are made, and on those beads, then one should do the japa. But Rudraksha is a common one, and Rudraksha is considered to be a powerful bead for doing the japa. For Vishnu, people can use the Tulsi. When it comes to Sri Krishna, Ram, or any form of Bhagwan Vishnu, Tulsi is used. If the person is doing the japa of Lakshmi with a desire for getting wealth, etc., then he is told to do it on the beads of lotus seed. Okay. But remember that you cannot choose a mantra just like that, it has to be initiated by the tradition by the teacher. That's very important. Now, about the Japamala, yes, there are certain rituals through which the Japamala is sanctified. It is the power of the Japamala is to be invoked and then used. In fact, even in your everyday japa, the Japamala is first worshipped and then the Om Male Mahamaye Sarvasiddhi Pradayini. And so there are certain mantras through which the Japamala is worshipped and then it must be used. Then there is yet another important thing about the Japamala is that you cannot keep it anywhere on the ground or wherever you want to place it on the body. But there are these three places where the Japamala can be held. There is a bag, a cotton bag, etc. It is called as Gomukhi. If you don't have a Gomukhi, just keep it wrapped under the cloth. So holding it parallel to the heart is one place, or holding it parallel to the face is the next, or holding it parallel to the navel. These are the three places where the japa is told to be done. Here, or at the heart, or at the level of navel. If you are standing and doing, then doing it, holding it parallel to the navel can be possible. Otherwise, it gets tangled, and then one has to keep on just detangling it all the time. But there are these indications, and these are the instructions about the beads, about not using it as alankar, about the sanctity of the Japamala, about the type of Japamala that one should use.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Any other questions presently?
Swamiji Hari Om. Swamiji, we had seen the school of thoughts of Vaisheshika, and now we are further going into Sankhya, where Prakriti is been said to be Jagat Karanam. So, are we going to give thought more further in the Sankhya school of thoughts?
In the Brahma Sutra Bhashya, Bhagavan Bhashyakara says that the Sankhya are the Pradhana Malla. So he says it is by the Pradhana Malla Nibarhana Nyaya. Like if a person wants to become an universal champion in let's say in boxing, he wants to become a universal champion. Does that mean that this person will have to go and box every person in the world, knock him down, and then he will be proclaimed as the universal champion of this year? No. The rule is that the Pradhana Malla, if the champion of the last year is defeated, the earlier champion is defeated, then the new person can claim the position of universal championship. Like that, the Sankhya system is the Pradhana Malla. He says that in the refutation of the Sankhyas, all the other systems naturally get refuted because the Sankhya's have arrived by refuting them all. And therefore, Sankhya is a very important system which says that the world, the cause of this world is Prakriti. So yes, though in our present discussion in which we are studying over here, the text, there is very little indication of that, but further down the text in various other places, we will come across the Sankhyas again and again. Different teachers have given different treatment to the subject matter in various texts. Like, for example, Sri Harsha Mishra in his Khandana Khanda Khadya, he locks his horns with the Nayayika system. This Nyaya Vaisheshika systems over there. Then there are teachers like Madhusudana Saraswati, etc., who in their books like the Advaita Siddhi have answered all the objections raised by the Madhva system of duality. So the various teachers in various books have given the treatment differently, answering various different schools of thought. Yes, Sankhya is important, and we are going to meet Sankhyas, even the Nayayikas. In some places, you will meet even the Mimamsakas. You will meet the Bauddhas in other places, and and they will be answered. Yes, you are going to meet Sankhya. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Swamiji.
Any other question?
Swamiji, yesterday you explained in your lecture yesterday or day before about the Shravanam, that it's a conclusive understanding. Now I struggle in moving from Shravanam to Mananam. Is there a process? What happens? I don't understand, but is there a process that you can make your Shravanam stronger to move it to the Mananam stage?
Shravanam is conclusive understanding, which means Tatparya Nishchayaha. Simply listening is not, attentive listening is not Shravanam. Attentive listening is attentive listening. Attentive listening simply means that you are giving undivided attention without any distractions. And that is possible because one has a certain level of Shama, Dama, Uparati, Titiksha, and Samadhana. Because one has already acquired these qualities. Shama means the pacification of mind. Whenever the mind is getting distracted, disturbed, to slow down its pace, to calm it down, to collect it, to bring it back to equipoise is called as Shama. Dhamma means whenever the Indriyas become disturbed, to calm down those Indriyas, whether they are Karmendriyas, Jnanendriyas. So Bahirindriya Nigraha is called as Dhamma. Uparati means to withdraw, to withdraw from the unnecessary activities. Now, whilst doing the sadhan panchakam, etc., we have seen 3 levels of this uparati, the 3 meanings, and actually these are the 3 levels. So, uparati. Titiksha means forbearance. For example, now presently, now that, last 2 days there was little sunshine in Rishikesh, and so the cold is not as torturous as it was. So to continue doing what you are supposed to do without being hampered by the external conditions means to tolerate, to bear, to tolerate. There is fortitude. Then that is called as titiksha, dukkha sahanam. To tolerate that, the discomfort. To tolerate the discomfort is called. So even when you are waking up and leaving the bed, the warmth of that bed, and then coming and sitting over here or wherever you are sitting, if not rolling in the bed and watching the video or studying like that, then that will become titiksha. Okay? Titiksha. So if a person already has these qualities, then he will have undivided attention. Now, with that undivided attention, the possibility of one understanding the Upanishadic conclusion correctly is increased, that the possibility is increased. And therefore, Samadhi Purvakam Shravanam Kuryat. How should the Shravanam be done? Samadhi Purvakam, which means with Shamadama, etc. Do you get that? Do you get it? So Shama and Dhamma is a prerequisite for Shravanam. So in that Shravanam now, you come to the conclusion that yes, the Upanishad, all the Upanishad, without any ambiguity, are able to show Atma is Brahman. Now, this, by having undergone the rigmarole, the entire rigorous process of looking at every word, every line, and then coming to the conclusion, is very, very important. Okay. Now this samshaya bhavana is removed through shravanam. Because what had happened was, by you have a cursory knowledge. A person has a cursory knowledge that somewhere we have heard Atma is Brahman. But is that right or not? Do the Upanishads really come to this conclusion? Do the Upanishads really show Atma is Brahman? So now you see, you are being tossed into a state of doubt. This state of doubt is called as samshaya bhavana. It is samshaya bhavana. How will that be taken away? By you actually going through the Upanishads and then coming to the conclusion. Therefore, it is through the process of Shravanam, samshaya bhavana is removed. Okay. That yes, Upanishad says Atma is Brahman. Now, what happens after this is, the person feels, yes, the Upanishad may say Atma is Brahman, but how is it logically possible? How is it logically, rationally possible? So now there is another problem, and that problem is the problem of asambhavana. You are meeting what is called as impossibility, asambhavana. It is not possible. Upanishad may say Atma is Brahman, but logically it doesn't look possible. This is called as asambhavana. And it is through the process of mananam, the asambhavana is removed. So there are various impossibilities you are going to meet. How can Atma be Brahman? Now, for example, in the Tatvanusandhanam that we were going through, that since Paramanu can be called as Jagat Karanam, Brahman is not Jagat Karanam, correct? An impossibility. So this process which was there of meeting the Vaisheshika school and refuting it was to remove the asambhavana. Okay? So what is the point of Shravanam? To remove the samshaya bhavana. What is the purpose of mananam? To remove the asambhavana. So when do you move from Shravanam to mananam? It is only when you have arrived at the conclusion, and then that conclusion meets an impossibility, a seemingly logical impossibility, then begins the process of mananam. So it is natural, it just happens as one goes through the Shravanam properly. So that is then we call it as contemplation in English. So this is how it happens. So Shravanam, then Mananam. Mananam is meant to remove asambhavana. And to remove the viparita bhavana, we have nididhyasanam. Okay. Samshaya bhavana, asambhavana, viparita bhavana. So knowledge which is free from all this now has is powerful to mitigate, to remove the ignorance. Okay,
Thank
that
you,
is
Swami.
Swamiji, one further question
uh,
to this same subject, that when we have Shravana and when the Samshaya Bhavana is been removed, we reach to a Tatparya Nishchayam. After that, we have Mananam. Mananam can be called as Chintanam also, to
yeah.
contemplate over it. Right. So we, by that, we remove the logical impossibilities by Mananam. And further, when these two have been achieved, then the purpose of Nididhyasanam, why that Viparita Bhavana will come to us if we have a Tatparya Nishchayam and we have removed the logical impossibilities also. Will the Viparita Bhavana arrive in the thought process?
Yes, yes, because the samskara is deeply rooted. Okay, the samskara, the vasanas, that aham karta, aham bhokta, the deha tadatmya, the identification with the body, etc., is deeply rooted, because of which the viparita bhavana. So actually, what is the fact? Atma is Brahman. Yet what do you feel? That I Atma, I may be Brahman, but I feel I am this body, I am Karta Bhokta, I am the experiencer, the doer. This is what I keep on feeling. Okay, I keep on feeling. So there is a bhavana. What kind of bhavana is it? Viparita bhavana, exactly opposite to what is the fact. The fact is Atma is Brahman. So therefore, now there is a viparita bhavana. Okay. And why is there this viparita bhavana? Because of the purva samskaras. And what are the samskaras? Of continuously getting identified with the body, mind, senses, ego, constantly getting identified with it. There is viparita bhavana. And therefore, this viparita bhavana, in order to remove the viparita bhavana, we have the sadhanam called as niridhyasanam, which is meditation. Okay. So there is Brahma Bhavana is to be done. Atma is Brahman. This Bhavana is to be done only to remove the Viparita Bhavana, not so that you can become Brahman. That's why it will keep on coming because of the samskaras, avidya, samskaras of the avidya. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
This is the reason why in Jivan Mukti Viveka, Vidyaranya Swami emphasizes so much on manonasha. You see, manonasha. Because even in case of a jnani, remember this, don't just take things for granted. And if anybody is overconfident about it, then the traditional texts are very stern in saying that such a person will definitely fall. Well, fall from grace. The thing is, that one will have to stay alert, because this identification with the body-mind complex is something that happens naturally out of habit, out of the samskaras, out of these deeply rooted impressions, not of one birth, but of innumerable births. Okay? And therefore, the process of nididhyasanam, meditation, is very important. In fact, it is only for such totally dedicated effort people like Yajnavalkya also take to sannyas. Now, you cannot say Yajnavalkya, someone of Yajnavalkya's stature, is not a jnani. You cannot say so. Okay. He whose words are capable of igniting knowledge in our heart right in this Kali Yuga, then think about what is Yajnavalkya, whose words are so potent that even today it can work and will continue to work because it is pramanam. So then what happens? Yet somebody like Yajnavalkya now tells his wife, look here, dear Maitreyi, the time has come for me to take to sannyas. Why? Because he has got a fancy for that kind of clothes or what? Huh? He already is leading a life of austerity, tapas, in the forest. Then why does somebody like Yajnavalkya also has the need of taking to sannyas? It is so that he can give himself completely. It is not for the sake of knowledge. Now he is taking to sannyasa. So it is not vividisha sannyasa. It is vidvat sannyasa. What is the purpose of vidvat sannyasa? So that a person can give himself 100% to nididhyasanam. Therefore, there is the nididhyasanam is also important. Yeah. It will keep on coming in spite of having had the tatparya nishchaya, and also how even if one is able to logically meet and refute all impossibilities, yet the viparita bhavana will rise, making one identify himself again and again with the body-mind complex. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Swamiji.
Swamiji, we have a question regarding meditation. If Pujya Swamiji can please throw some light on the importance of chakras in meditation, their names and positions in our body.
I'm not an expert in this, yet with whatever limited knowledge that I have, here it is. So I admit, confess that I'm not an expert, nor does my inclination take me into these discussions. Yet there are a few things which are which in our system are accepted, and that is, we have known that dharana is deshabandha chittasya dharana. In the process of meditation, though in English we just have one common word, meditation, yet the yoga shastra says that there are these three steps. The first one is called as Dharana, then Dhyana and Samadhi. Dharana means to arrest the mind, to lock the mind in one place. Deshabandha Chittasya Dharana. This is called as the Dharana of the Chitta. Deshabandha. Desha, in the Vyasabhashyam, it is said Desha means the space, whether it is an outer space or inner space. To keep the mind resting, alert but arrested rather, in one place is called as Dharana. Now, for the sake of Dharana, the Shastra has said you can keep the mind in the sense attention, locked up in these places in the body, and they call them as the chakras or the lotuses, Padma. Beginning from anus, which is the Mooladhara chakra or Mooladhara Padma Kamala, then a little above, between the pelvic region and the anus, is the Swadhisthana chakra. Right behind the pelvic region is the Swadhisthana chakra. Then above that, behind the navel, is the Manipura chakra. Rising above, behind the sternum, the center of the heart, like that, means that region, is the Anahata chakra. Then here, behind the throat, is the Vishuddhi chakra. Vishuddhi chakra. Then, still rising above, between the eyebrows and the bridge of the nose, is the Ajna chakra. And still above this, in the crown of the head. Now, with somebody like me, it is quite easy to understand the crown, the cranium, is the Sahasrara chakra. So these are the chakras. There are even more, but these are accepted ones for the sake of Dharana. Now, people have created a lot of ruckus around it, and at least in our tradition, there is not much ruckus about it. It simply should be understood as spaces given by the Shastra for the sake of Dharana. This much is sufficient enough. Now the chakra is invoked and the chakra starts revolving, and then everything. Then every chakra has got a powerful thing, and all these powers are invoked. I have no idea, nor does my interest ever take me there. But yes, this much is good enough and acceptable to me, and the tradition gives me this much, and that is that these are spaces for Dharana. Right? Yeah. Nothing mystical, mysterious about it that I can share with you. We can go ahead.
That's all the questions, Swamiji. We've got 3 more minutes left now.
Swamiji, Pranam. Can you please explain Savil Kalpa and Nirvikalpa Samadhi?
Yeah. This categorization of Samadhi as Savikalpa and Nirvikalpa, we find only an indication of it in the Yoga Sutras. Okay? In the Yoga Sutra. Now, if maybe we can keep this question to be answered in little more detail in one of the following sessions, but presently, just this much. When the Samadhi or when the mind, which is now locked up in one place, as well as there is the thought is yet flowing. So it is a flow of thoughts is there, but in one direction. So it is dhyanam. Okay. There is dhyana. Pratyaya ekatanata dhyanam. So dharana, dhyanam. And now when can it become samadhi? Bhagavan Patanjali says that it can be called as samadhi. This state of mind can be called as samadhi when in the presence of the thought, pay attention, when in the presence of the thought, the artha, jnana, and the shabda, there are these 3 things. The word, for example, now you take the word cow. The word cow. So cow is a word. Cow is the animal, and the cow, which is your understanding. Okay? Now, though these are 3 different things, yet in our transaction, it appears that we are exchanging and replacing all of them indiscriminately. Okay? The cow word, the cow knowledge, the cow object. He says that it will be called as the state of samadhi when just the object without its name, etc., just the object, artha matra nirbhasa, where there is only the illumination of the object without this division, but not as confused division. Without this division, then it is called as samadhi. Now, when will it be called as Nirvikalpa Samadhi? When will we be allowed to call it as Savikalpa Samadhi? Is something still to be known. A small little hint over here, and that is the division of dhyata, dhyan, and dheya is not there. which means where only the dheyakara vritti remains, where the form of the thought is only as the object of meditation without precipitating the ego which claims I am meditating. Then we will call it as Samadhi. Now, these words, technically Savikalpa and Nirvikalpa, actually belong to the Nayayikas. We also in Vedanta use them. The word Vikalpa, Shabdanupati, Vastu Shunyo Vikalpaha. That is Vikalpa defined by Yoga Sutra. Then when can Samadhi be called as Savikalpa? When can Samadhi be called as Nirvikalpa? These are then, just indications, but not actually in words given to us by the Yoga Sutra. But we can go to it a little later with more details. This much is enough, that Dharana is this, Dhyanam is this, and this is what is called as Samadhi. This is what is called as Vikalpa. When can when can this flow of thought be called as Samadhi is what we have just discussed. All right. I think we can stop over here. Thank you all. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnaat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavanto Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Thank you, friends. Thank you all.